In this editorial, we will discuss that Indian government is slowly cancelling the license of many NGOs that receives foreign funding. So that's why the title is Killing the License, because licenses of many NGOs are being cancelled by the Indian government. The government must give a more transparent account of its actions against NGOs. So here editorial says that whatever the actions of governments are, government must give or government must explain clearly why it is cancelling the licenses of NGOs. When you give the account of something, it means you give the explanation of that thing, and it should be very transparent, it should be very crystal clear. It means reasons should be told that why these licenses are being cancelled. If the past few years of enhanced means when you increase something, measures means when you take a step, when you do something, when you take action against non-governmental organization. This is the full form of NGOs. Operating means functioning in India had not put enough of a squeeze. Squeeze means when you pressurize something, when you force something, or in a way you can say if any group is working and you reduce the money of that group, you reduce the amount of that group, it is also called squeezing on them. So here editorial says that in the past few years many actions have been taken against NGOs and they were tried to squeeze hard. It means government took many actions to reduce their money. But editorial says as if it was not enough, then the Ministry of Home Affairs long drawn out means any process, if you say something is long drawn out process, it means any process on which you have been working for a long time. So editorial says if it was not enough, already the Indian government took many actions against NGOs, but if these actions were not enough, then recently Ministry of Home Affairs prepared or drafted long drawn out process of scrutinizing their foreign funding licenses by year end, is sure to do so. By year end means by the end of this year. So Ministry of Home Affairs MHA has decided that all NGOs would be scrutinized, their foreign funding licenses by this year, and it's sure to do so. So editorial says that if these actions were not enough, it means in the past few years many actions were taken against NGOs, but if they were not enough, then this action would surely be enough or more than enough. In this action, the foreign funding licenses will be scrutinized completely by MHA. Close on the heels. Close on the heels means immediately after something, when you follow something. Close on the heels of the news that the missionaries of charity group had been denied. Deny means to refuse something, to not allow, had been denied a renewal of its licenses under the Foreign Contribution Act 2000. Amended means amend means to reform something, to improve something. When you improve something or when you make correction in any law, it is called amendment. So amended in 2020. So under this law, Foreign Contribution Act, contribution means when you give something, if you are giving money, it means you are contributing money. So close on the heels of the news. So there was a news. What was that news? That the missionaries of charity group had been denied a renewal of its license. So many groups, or you can say that missionaries of charity group had been refused that their licenses would not be renewed under the Foreign Contribution Act 2010, and that was amended in 2020. So news comes the revelation. So editorial says that there was we got first the news of missionaries of charity group had been denied a renewal of its license, and after that news, immediately after that news, we got a revelation. Revelation means when something are exposed before you, when something brings out, something is brings out before you, comes the revelation that more than 4/5, more than 4/5, almost you can say that 80% of the applications of the 22,000 plus NGOs that have sought renewal have yet to be scrutinized. So first we received this news that the missionaries of charity group had been denied a renewal of its license, and immediately after that news we see, what did we see? We see that more than 4/5 of the application of the 22,000 plus NGOs that have sought. This is the third form of seek. Seek means to desire, when you want something. Renewal have yet to be scrutinized. So you can say that Indian government has received more than or almost 22,000 plus NGOs application to renew their license, but according to Indian government, these applications have to be scrutinized. When you scrutinize something, it means you observe that thing closely. Unless is used for condition. It gives the sense of if. Unless the government extend means to increase something. Unless the government extends the deadline means time limit, deadline by midnight. So this is 31st December, and up to the midnight of 31st December, if the government doesn't extend the deadline, all of these NGOs stand to lose their ability to access international funding in the new year. So if the government doesn't extend the deadline, then in the new year these NGOs will not be able to get foreign funding. They will lose their ability. Access means when you can reach somewhere, as experts have explained. So according to experts, or in if we consider the views of experts, the NGOs have to prove, is used for obligation. So any, you can say that mandatory requirement, the NGOs have to prove not only but also prove not only that the source of funding and their usage of the funds is appropriate. So now, according to new rules and new regulations, experts say that NGOs will have to prove that what is their source of funding and how they are using their fund, whether it is appropriate or inappropriate, and beside that, but also in addition to establish means to make sure that their work doesn't qualify as harmful. So NGOs will have to make sure that whatever the work they are doing is not harmful to society, is not harmful to public interest, is not harmful to law and order, or not harmful to national security. Ambiguous. When you say something is ambiguous means something that is unclear. Ambiguous terms means conditions that are left to MHA officials to define. So according to new rules, there are so many conditions which are not clear, and the definition of these conditions will be defined by MHA officials. So as many as is used to emphasize something, है ना. So to show that the amount is so big. So as many as 2000 NGOs under scrutiny. Under scrutiny means you are observing them. Under scrutiny may be deny. Deny means to refuse, to say no to something. A renewal of their FCRA license, as the Ministry of Charity and its roughly 200 homes around the country have been in this round. Have been in this round means we have been in this round means the government of India has done for missionaries of charity, and roughly means approximately 200 homes around the country. So if these rules are applied on NGOs, then according to the data or according to facts, 2000 NGOs under scrutiny may be denied a renewal. So I think or it is not possible that these 2000 NGOs will get a renewal of their licenses. So their fate will be like the missionaries of charity, and it's roughly 200 homes. So previously we saw the Indian government cancelled license, or you can say that cancelled license of missionaries of charity and their 200 homes. So it may be repeated again for these 2000 NGOs. Contrary. Contrary means you want to say that in opposition to something. Contrary means in opposition to something. Contrary to the government's defense. Defense means to protect yourself. So the government has applied these rules, or government has said that these rules will be applicable for the NGOs working in India. So what does the government say in support of these new rules? That so government says that it is only following accounting and audit procedure. Procedure means your way of working. Accounting and audit. When you do accounting and when you do audit means you are taking complete report, and you can say that making sure whether what is being done is being done according to rules and regulations or not. So the government says that whatever we are doing, we are just auditing or we are just accounting. But editorial says contrary to the government's defense. But editorial says this is not the real reason. It seems means appear. It seems clear that organizations that have particularly faced the Modi government's ire. Ire means you can say that anger. So Modi government's ire means anger, are those that work in specific sensitive areas. So editorial says that the NGOs that are working in very specific and very sensitive areas. So actions have been taken against these NGOs that have been working in specific sensitive areas. So Modi government is angry at these NGOs that are working in very sensitive areas. And what are these sensitive areas? Like pollution and climate change issues, human rights, child labor and human slavery, health and religious NGOs, particularly Christian and Islamic charities. So NGOs that are particularly related to Christian and Islamic charities. So these are the most sensitive issues. Modi government has been against these NGOs. So ire means anger. Prominent names. Prominent means very important. Prominent names among nearly 20,000 NGOs to have lost their foreign funding licenses since 2014. So here editorial gives the very important NGOs that have lost their foreign funding since 2014. So almost 20,000 NGOs have lost their foreign funding licenses since 2014, and the main NGOs, prominent NGOs or important NGOs are including Amnesty International, Greenpeace India, People's Watch, European Climate Foundation. So these are the names of NGOs that have lost their foreign funding licenses. So these are, you can say that, very well known NGOs. Compassion means when you show mercy, when you treat someone kindly, it is called compassion. Compassion International and the Gates Foundation backed Public Health Foundation of India. This is the name of NGO, Public Health Foundation of India, and it is supported by. When you back something, it means you support that thing. So Public Health Foundation of India is supported by Gates Foundation. So all of these prominent NGOs have been, you can say that, have been denied foreign funding licenses since 2014. If the government has ample, if you have something in ample, it means you have a lot of. Ample means to be in large number. Ample evidence to prove that Indians are better off. Better off means in better condition, are better off without the work of these internationally renowned. Renowned means well known organization. So here editor asks a question: if the government has a lot of evidence that Indians are better without the help of these international organizations, then it has yet to show it. So it will have to be proved. The government will have to show the evidence that without these organizations India is in better condition or Indians are in better condition. It is time, it is the right time. The government gives a more transparent account. So when you give a more transparent account of something, it means you explain all the details of that thing clearly. So it is time the government gives a more transparent account of its actions against NGOs. So whatever the actions that have been taken against NGOs by the Indian government, the government must give transparent account of these actions. The government must explain these actions clearly, which at present appear to mirror. Mirror means to reflect something, like your action mirror the action of something. It means your actions and another person's actions are same, which at present appear to mirror those in China and Russia. So some actions have been taken against NGOs in China and Russia. So China and Russia, which have used their NGO laws to shut down. Shut down means to close. Dissent. Dissent means disagreement. When you are disagree with something, it means you show your dissent. And criticism. Criticism, when you do not like something and say some, you can say that, and you oppose that thing, it is called criticism. So in China and Russia, what did we see? Some NGOs who were criticizing Chinese government or Russian government, and that NGOs that had dissenting views from the Chinese or Russian government. So China and Russia decided to make some NGO laws that were against these NGOs. So the same practice is being followed in India. Editorial says like that, mirror. So editorial says that if the Indian government doesn't explain its actions against NGOs, then we see that the Indian government is just reflecting the actions of Russia and China. And what did these countries do? These countries have made such type of NGO laws that are against the NGOs that regularly criticize the government. The actions in India over foreign hand concerns. So the government says repeatedly that the money, concern means worry, tension, what is the reason of the worry, tension, appear more hypocritical, है ना, more hypocritical given the relative ease with which political parties are able to access foreign funds. So editor, when you are hypocritical means behaving in a way that suggests one has higher standards. When you show that or you can say that untruthful behavior, untruthful behavior is called hypocritical behavior. So editorial says, when we talk about foreign hand regarding the NGOs, so the government is being hypocritical. Why? Because when political parties receive fund, when political parties receive foreign fund for their campaign means activities through electoral bonds. So editor asks a question, when political parties receive foreign fund through electoral bonds, then why are you not worried about foreign hand? But when NGOs are being helped by foreign money, then you show your concern. Editorial says that it is hypocritical behavior, it is untruthful behavior, it is untrustworthy behavior. Under the same FCRA that seeks to restrict funds to NGOs. So political parties receive foreign fund under the same FCRA that seeks to restrict means to limit something, to try to control someone or something, restrict funds to NGOs. So here editorial says that under FCRA the government is trying to restrict NGOs, but under the same FCRA political parties are receiving foreign fund at a time when India is facing the crippling. So if something is crippling you, it is making you weaker. Crippling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Pandemic means you can say that a global disease. COVID-19 pandemic and a long-term economic crisis. Crisis means you can say that a major problem. So at a time, so this is the time when India is facing the bad effects of COVID-19 and India is experiencing economic problems. So at this time, the government's moves that have resulted in an estimated means approximately 30% drop in international non-profit contributions. So due to the Indian government actions, 30% we have experienced 30% drop in international non-profit contribution. So you can say that almost 30% money which we were getting from foreign funding with the help of these NGOs. So now this money India is not receiving, 30% drop. So this 30% drop will hurt the poorest and most vulnerable. Most vulnerable means you can say that most vulnerable means the most weaker section of society, recipient of philanthropic effort. When something is philanthropic, it is being done out of, you can say that kindness. When something is philanthropic, it is being done out of kindness. So editorial says that it will hurt the poor most, particularly those by NGOs working in areas where government aid means support, help fails to reach. So here editorial says that although the government is also helping the poor, but there are some sections of society where it is still hard to get the government help. So there NGOs are working better, but these actions the government has taken against the NGOs will, you can say that, will affect the poor.